one of my passions in life is books. And so I thought today I would talk a little bit about personal branding and how launching your software, your app, and monetizing it on the back end is much easier if you have a personal brand. And I'll explain why for high ticket, but then also for getting exactly how to do that. I'm going to walk you through after. So basically, this is what I've been teaching for a long time. I have a book called Funnel Theory, which is a bestseller talking about funnels. I wrote a funnel on ClickFunnels that did, I don't know if you guys know ClickFunnels, but when ClickFunnels was pre-go high level, when ClickFunnels was your only option, I built a funnel that did over $10 million in sales. They used my funnel as a case study in their high ticket mastermind. So I know a thing or two about building funnels and landing pages and all that kind of stuff. So basically, you're going to have a landing page. And at the end of it, if you have an app, you're just going to go to the download page. No big deal. If you don't have an app and you have a software, if you have freemium, you're going to either have them log in or they're going to pay. But either way, you're essentially going to have them pay you something to get your app. So today's lesson is going to be a little bit more about marketing and launching rather than building. So you have a landing page and you say, you should buy, join, download my thing. That's essentially what your landing page says. Obviously doing it in the right way makes sense. But what you want to do is you want to eventually then push people to you have your landing page. And after someone buys, what do you suggest? I've taught this before. I'm gonna get to a book, I promise, but I'm a very why guy, so I'll explain the whole why. So your basic product, okay? Let me give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. There's your core product. Alex might have talked to you guys about this. And then you have a premium. You might have an upsell, and then you have a premium option. And then what's the most important thing in your funnel? If you really want to scale it without raising money, what's the most important thing? Yeah, it could be coaching, so something that's expensive. And so the reason for that is because what it does is it increases. So you're going to have a cost of acquiring a customer, and then you're going to have your average order value, which is your cash flow, your first month. And then you're going to have your lifetime value, which is your recurring times the number of months that they're going to be with you. So this is a basic income statement of a software or an app. One thing that most of people miss is they don't have a high ticket product. So Vanessa's kind of getting close to it, but coaching could be it, but it could be consulting, it could be one-on-one, it could be a service, it could be anything. So what you want to do is you want to have this high ticket expensive product. So after they buy the first thing, some people call this an ascension ladder or ascension model. And you have your core product here where people are going to buy. It should be recurring. Your core product should be recurring. And then what I often recommend is actually a calendar. So, and this is also very good because you can have onboarding, but some people will want more, and that's where you can have something that's high ticket. Now, how you define high ticket really depends on who you're talking to. But let's just say something that you wouldn't probably just pull out your credit card and buy. So you'd have to talk to someone, or maybe you do it on a webinar after you've been on a webinar for 3 or 4 hours. Maybe you'll buy something that's more expensive, but usually something that's $1,000 to $2,000 or more. It could be 10,000, 50,000, whatever, but it's at least probably $1,000. And so what this does to your business model is it allows you have a calendar, and you might use, let's say, Lead Falcon, or you might use Go High Level or Active Campaign or million different other CRMs on the back end, and you schedule a call and you can sell something that's a little bit more expensive. And what that does is it helps cash flow. Because in the beginning, you may not have a lot of money to scale. Some of you guys are super rich and you're like, whatever, I'll scale, or maybe I'll raise some money, that's fine. But the game, a lot of times, is you're going to have what's called a break-even point. So there's usually a cost associated with building it. So let's say it's $10,000 to build it, whether that's you pay someone, or this used to be this $10,000 is a nowadays number. Software used to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but let's say you just pay someone to do it, maybe 5 to 20, 25, maybe 50, depending on the complexity of it, but something like that. So you have some upfront costs, or if you do it yourself, then you're just going to spend your time. That's fine. And if you value yourself at $100 an hour and you spend 100 hours on it, that's $10,000 anyway. So whether it's time or money, this is your sunk cost for building it. And then you have how much is it going to cost to actually acquire a customer. So let's say it's $50 to get someone to buy your product, whether it's a software or an app. Okay. but you may only make, let's say, maybe your subscription's $29. So you're going to lose money. Now, eventually you'll make money, but you might lose money for a couple months. So what you want to do to put money back in, this is where your high ticket comes in. So if you want, if you, I don't know how to sell. I think I have a sales training. Yeah, sales and persuasion. This is a 3-hour class on sales. So if you guys want to watch that. Anyways, so you have this high ticket product. Okay. So you want to be able to have a high ticket product, but whenever someone buys a high ticket product, a more expensive product, what are there's 6 major objections why people don't buy anything. So the first one is ROI, or is it worth it? So it's not actually the price. Some people say the price, but the price doesn't matter. The price is relative to value. That's not really an objection. That's more just bad copywriting. You're not even, if you have too much information, there's no clear CTA, then they're not even making a decision. So assuming they're in a sales position where they understand what you're offering and all that kind of stuff, the reason why they won't buy, one is ROI, it's money. Is it worth it? Another one is time. So worth the effort, okay? Worth the money. They think, oh yeah, that's good, but I'm busy, or my life is difficult, or I don't, that's going to be too much of a commitment, or whatever. So but the rest of them are trust. And this is where the book comes in. And especially with high ticket, there's 4 trust objections. There's 4 reasons why someone wouldn't buy something based on trust. So they don't trust who? Anyone have any suggestions or guesses? So they don't trust the salesperson, the actual person. They don't trust themselves. That's the last one. I call this the snowflake objection. Yeah, but you don't understand. My life is different. I know it works for everyone else. I'm different, that kind of thing. Result is product. Product and result is essentially the same thing. And then the company. Okay. So maybe you trust the salesperson, maybe you trust the product, but I don't like this company. They've been scammed before, whatever, that makes sense. So yeah, product or service. These are the main objections. It's not worth the money. It's not worth the time. They don't trust you. They don't trust the company. They don't trust the actual product or the service, and they don't trust themselves. They think it's not going to work for them. So these are the main objections. One of the things in order to get them over the line is a lot of you guys really don't have a lot of trust. And a lot of you guys also are not going to be super good influencers on social media. No offense. I'm not a great social media influencer either. I got a bunch of followers, but I had a team that kind of did it for me. I just teach and then people cut things up for me. And I always, obviously, you guys can see I'm obsessed with books just because I think that they're the fastest way to learn something. And I don't really understand people that don't read books. But nonetheless, if you think of anything, let's look up what's something obscure. I don't know. Vegan gardening. No, that doesn't make, I guess all gardening is vegan, so that's funny that I said that. Let's say fencing. Okay, look, these people, whoever this is probably good at fencing. It's obscure. So who is this person? Oh, it's multiple authors. Interesting. So even something obscure like this, there's going to be whoever wrote it is going to be an expert at it. So my point is the easiest way to build trust is actually to write a book. And what this does is I'm going to pitch you why writing a book is a good thing for your brand. So you have up here, you also have something called, what is this? This is a marketing phase. So this is essentially what your funnel is going to be. I want things to be simple for people to use because I struggle. So you have marketing. So let's say you build the product, and what's going to happen, and this is where Famous comes in, this is what you guys are actually building, is that there's the actual product. So this is your software, this is your app, whatever it may be. This is called fulfillment in business. So you're actually going to fulfill here. So you have marketing, then you send people to a landing page. You're going to ask them to make a decision on your recurring product. Then you're going to actually give them the product, but you also want to send them to a calendar, whether it's onboarding or maybe you have them fill out a form or something, and then you sell some high ticket. So my argument, I'm going to explain this, is that a book helps with both the first users here and the high ticket at the bottom. Anyways, so you have marketing, and then you send people to a landing page, and you then have a calendar, and then you can help sell something that's expensive. You get one person to buy something that's $10,000 or $5,000, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of money in the company bank account to be able to scale. So that's very valuable. But also, writing a book can get you your first beta users or a lot of users. How do you guys think this is possible? Let's actually break this down. What are the different types of marketing? Online, offline, social media. I'll give you mine. So there's something called push, there's pull, there's cold, organic, referral, affiliate. This is how I divide it. So this is how I do it. There's different patterns. What is push marketing? What do you guys think? Push marketing is Facebook ads, exactly. So a billboard, radio, all that kind of stuff. What this means is that you're not searching for it, you're not asking for it. And then pull is pay per click. Pull is basically someone searching for something, and then you arbitrage that search. Does that make sense? So PPC, SEO, and then you have cold. Cold is old school knocking on doors. I actually knocked on doors when I was in college. It was the worst thing ever, but it was in hindsight maybe the best thing ever as well. LinkedIn, DMing, cold email, that sort of thing. Cold calling. People don't do that very much anymore, but cold. You get a list and you call them. Organic, I just call it social media or in-person foot traffic, that kind of thing. You have brick and mortar. Some people put SEO and organic. It doesn't really matter. And then referral or affiliate is you give a percent commission. This is really the best. Social media is really the best. And I'm going to put email lists in here as well because you have them. So it's built in. Social media is the best and email lists is the best. These are the best ways. Why? Because they know you, because they're following you, because they trust you, because you're not selling them anything. It's organic. So these are the best, but they take forever to build. They take a lot of time to build. And so a lot of you guys will want to launch, and that's fine. You could, there's some more advanced stuff where you can go into Facebook groups or you can join clubs or online clubs and that sort of thing. If social media, if having a big following of people that trust you already, okay, is the best way to launch, I think that's fair, whether it's on social media or email. If that's the best way, what if you don't have social media? What is, think outside the box. There's a great book called The Third Door. And don't knock from the front. Actually, don't even knock from the back. Think about the secret third way. What is a way? And any of you guys are members of Book Daddy know that you probably know this because I talk about this forever as the main way that you should launch your book. It's the same way, in my opinion, that you should launch a software if you don't have a lot of money for advertising. So how do you, if social media is the best, but you don't have a social media following and you don't want to wait, how would you use social media to get a lot of users without having to build your own social media? That's maybe an interesting way of putting it. Maybe one of you guys will get it. What's an easy way to partner with a social media influencer? Which channel? Podcast, exactly. So podcast. Think about this. What is the problem that a podcast host has? Let's say I have a podcast, or it could be a blog as well, but I have content, exactly. So their problem is very quickly the problem becomes content. So it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting idea to start a podcast or an email newsletter where you say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this email newsletter. I'm going to do a daily podcast or a weekly podcast. And that's fine. For the first 5 or 6 lessons, you use ChatGPT or you're an expert at the thing. You just talk about your own stuff or you have 20 people in your network that are great. But eventually, after a year, unless you're in the news business where what happens in the world essentially is giving you content, you're going to run out of people. You're going to run out of content. You're going to run out of opinions. And so they very quickly have a problem, which is I need more high level people. And so what we always teach with we have a publishing company. This year we've had 40 #1 Amazon bestsellers, which is really great. I'm proud of that. The team has done really well. So 40 #1 bestsellers already this year for our clients, for my other company. But we always teach them they should go on a podcast tour to really launch the book. And the same thing applies to launching your software. Kind of the same thing. So the way I approach things is very systematic. So I'm laying the argument for you. This is why I was explaining something. And so I said, okay, so if the premise is true that we, in order to scale this, need something that's high ticket, how do we build trust with someone? If trust is the most important thing for someone to buy, we should probably write a book. But if we write a book, what can we do is now we have 2 audiences. So we have podcast audience for books, but we also have podcast audiences for tech, and we also have podcast audiences for whatever your niche is. So maybe the tech is an app for dogs. I don't know, whatever it is. But you have, so imagine you write a book about that topic. One, it's going to increase the conversion rate of people that come to the website because now they trust you as a founder because you wrote a book. Most people don't write a book. And the people that write book about things are experts of that thing. It's a very good filter. And it's also a sign of discipline. A little bit less now because you can do it with AI, but even with AI, people don't really know how to do it unless they get help. So having the ambition and the discipline to finish a book and then put it out correctly and then to become a bestseller is a whole other crazy thing they're flooding. But they're flooding everything. It's not unique to books. They're going to be flooding television, they're going to be flooding podcasts, they're flooding software, they're flooding everything. So AI is flooding every industry. So my point is that the best way to go on a podcast tour, notice the pattern here. What we really just mean are channels. It could be, a live streamer, it could be a blog, it could be a newsletter, it could be a podcast, it could be a YouTube channel. It could be maybe someone that goes live on Instagram or has longer form on TikTok. Not a lot of people do that, but maybe. Or maybe a LinkedIn video or something like that. There's people that are influencers and everything. So I'm just saying the interview format is very common with podcasts. So think about it this way. Step one, you have product, software, an app. You can honestly skip step one if you wanted to build your brand, but step two, a little funnel. Step three, what if you did this? What if you just did a sprint and you wrote a book, bestseller? You use that bestseller status because imagine this. Imagine reaching out to 1,000 of these channels, 1,000 different blogs and podcasts and LinkedIn influencers, whatever it may be. And you say, hey, Mr. Influencer, Mrs. Podcast host, I'd really love to be on your podcast. This very kind of not confident, very needy. You probably won't get an interview. In sales, it's called the law of least interest. So he who's least interested in the sale usually wins the sale or the negotiation. If you can walk away, then you usually have the leverage. It's like when you're negotiating a price on something and someone's like, well, no, if you don't give me a discount, I'm not going to do it. Okay, cool, don't do it. If you have that vibe, then they're usually more likely to buy anyways, because you're not needy. But my point is that if you lead with, hey, loved your last episode about blah blah blah, my number one Amazon bestseller, blah 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 just came out. I think your audience would really love learning about. Would you be interested in having me as a guest? Question mark. Those 4 sentences. This is a little bit advanced copywriting, but you're probably going to get 20% of them that are going to book you. So think about that. Let's say the average episode gets a couple hundred views. Let's say 500 views or impressions. So you have 200 times 500 and you're going to have 10,000 listeners. But they're not regular listeners. It's not a meta ad impression. These are people that, one, they're going to be with you for a half hour, an hour, maybe even 2 or 3 hours, depending on the length. So they're going to really get to know you. And therefore, they're going to get to trust you. And they obviously trust the host. So I call this trust arbitrage. So you are creating trust just by the kind of scientific term of it is social proof. But it's not just social proof in general, it's social proof with people who are very famous for that person. Okay. So if you take this step, you go on a tour and you're on, let's say, 50 podcasts or conversations. The odds of you being in front of 10,000 people and not getting 100 or 200 users is pretty much zero, unless you're just really bad, but I'm sure you guys are not. If you write a bestseller, you're going to be able to get in front of tens of thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands, depending on the size of the podcast, for free, essentially, with people that trust the host, but now they therefore trust you. So your CTA, your call to action, can be talking about your software. And in particular, you can be talking about how, yeah, go grab the software, blah, 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 download the app, whatever your call to action is. But you always want to incept the concept of working with you privately. Like, yeah, everyone go download myapp.com. and you'll get help with blah, 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 blah. Go to this website, it'll have all the information there. And also, if you guys are listening to this and you want even more help than just the software or the app, and you're this type of person, then after you download, there's a book, a call scheduler. Go there, book a call with me, be happy to chat with you. Think about that. Very casual. But if 10,000 people that now trust you hear that, what are the odds that maybe 10 or 20 of them are going to book a call? And even if you're really bad at sales and you only close 10% of people for your high ticket product, if your high ticket product is five or $10,000, all of a sudden you just put $20,000 in the bank account, which is not a big deal in terms of business, but it's in that beginning stage when you're launching, it's good to have cash on hand. So this is my kind of combination for why I suggest this. I'll give you guys a quick rundown. This is actually what we go over on a call. This is my other company, BookDaddy. You can always join BookDaddy. It's a AI software for writing books. You guys know Ariane Huffington? This is me, by the way. Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn. You guys probably know Jocko Willing. Donald Miller, he's super famous. NBA champion. This guy's the head of the Napoleon Hill. Maria, she sold her company for $100 million. Professor, you guys probably know Lewis Howes. Ryan Holiday is my favorite. The ego is the enemy. Yeah, I've been with a lot of Charles Duhigg won the Pulitzer Prize. So I'm pretty big into books, obviously. Kim Scott essentially invented Google AdWords, which is crazy. Kim Scott's a monster. This is a great book. You could join BookDaddy if you want. It helps you write books. But I'll walk you through how to do this. These are some of our bestsellers from this year. Private clients. Yeah, you got this again. This is obviously a funnel, but yeah, some of our bestsellers. It's pretty cool. I know this is a side lesson, but I set it up why I think you guys should write a book. So this is a step-by-step for how we approach writing books. There's obviously step one is complete the manuscript. Then you got to do book formatting. You want a PDF version, an EPUB version, an audiobook version, a paperback version as well. You want to do cover design, and you need multiple different cover designs. You need cover design for print, cover design for EPUB, and a cover design for audiobook. You got to legally own it. So this is called an ISBN number. It's the equivalent in the book world of a copyright. It's funny, guys. A lot of people want to be published, but I've had, obviously, you can see from my background, I've been in the New York publishing world, done all the fancy coffees and drinks with agents in New York City and Manhattan and all that kind of stuff. But I've been in that world. And that world is on notice. They really are. Because what they used to do is they used to be the distributor middleman. So you'd have this book, and then you have a person. This is Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, Mrs. Reader, Mrs. whatever. And how do you get in front of them? That's the big question. How do you get in front of them? Where would people buy the book? People would buy the book on bookstores. So in order to get to a bookstore, first you need an agent, and then the agent is actually a middleman for the publisher because the publisher doesn't want to talk to everyone because most people are not worthy talking to. And then you have a publisher, and then the publisher does bookstores, and then the bookstores do that. So this is the old method. But now you have your own funnel or Amazon. Why do we have all these middlemen? Where do you guys buy books? Probably buy from Amazon. And yeah, you can do Barnes and Noble if you're or Nook or something like that. You can go directly to them. Audible. Kafka, mine, something like that. Audible. I own Kafka, which is a competitor of Audible. So you can just go directly to them. So you don't really need a publisher. They don't really do anything for you. It's mostly a vanity thing. Or yeah, that's pretty much it. And you just have to you give up most of your rights, and especially if you're a new author, they rob you blind. You don't need them. But you do have to legally own your book. And people say, am I published? What published means is essentially, do you legally own your book? Do you have an ISBN number? And then can I buy it? Or can I download it? That's it. That's what published means. Then you want to upload to all the platforms. You should be everywhere, Amazon, Apple, Barnes& and Noble, everywhere. Then you want to upload audiobooks. I own this app. It's called Kafka. It has 10,000 users. At our peak, we had 20,000 users. It's got 3,000 books on it. It's pretty cool. And then you want to upload to Amazon. You got to do the keywords in the correct way. You want to have an author funnel. so that you can own your own email list. Email list is the most important thing. Then you go on a podcast. It's so funny. This girl looks like a girl from my college. It's funny. I know it's not her, but every time I see it, I think of that. But so you go on a podcast tour. You identify the shows that you want. You craft your pitch, which should be a 4 sentence email. You send them out. You schedule appearances, promote across all social media, and then you also get a bunch of free social media. So this is the only difference here, okay, is that when you're on the show, you don't just talk about your book, you talk about your software. This is the big idea. You can use your book to actually go on a podcast tour because if you're, hey, I just launched this software, you might be able to get a tour, but it's not as strong as if you're a #1 bestseller. So it's a lot easier to do that. If any of you guys are interested in working with us, you can schedule a call with Terry. He handles all of that. And is anyone interested in being a bestseller? We could do it all for you if you want. It's also a nice little passive income. What kind of software do you mean? Oh, you mean for reaching out to podcasts? There's a couple ones, but I wouldn't get too advanced yet. I would just send out personal emails. Nonfiction books in your niche for whatever software app you're building are really important, honestly. It's just the easiest way to build trust. And you can also add it to your landing page. I always teach on your landing page. I always say header, subheadline, and then a little CTA. And then you have the testimonials grid if you have them. If you don't, you can just have some beta users in your family give you some testimonials. And then I always recommend having a demo, a VSL here. Just remember, I've created multiple $10 million funnels. So if you disagree with me, cool. This is how I build all my funnels. They pretty much always work. Then you do benefits section with a benefits stack. And then you do features. Guys, remember what the difference between benefits and features are? Benefits is keep your family safe, and features is a type of rubber on the tire. Then you do FAQ, and I usually do a little letter from the founder. This is your bio section. And this is my point here. You're actually answering the trust objection here, and you're also answering a lot of the trust objections here. Okay. So you're making the sale. Okay, this is who it's for. This is why it's unique. This is why it's good. You should download it. You should buy it. And then you don't believe me. Other people love it. Here's what it is. Here's what you'll get. Here's why you can trust that it'll work. I know you have objections. Here's my questions. And then also, who the hell is this Jonathon guy, or who the hell is this Charles guy, or whatever it may be. And here you can have your book on your funnel. And what that does is it increases the probability that at the bottom here, your CTA, that they'll actually download, they'll actually buy, and it for sure will increase the chances that they buy your high ticket or more expensive product. So you're taking them on a psychological journey with your software app landing page. That's what you're doing. You're just pitching them while you're sleeping. And if you have a book here, it's just so much easier to sell something expensive. It also increases the odds that they're going to actually buy. And it for sure increases the chance that you can go on a podcast tour. Because if you're just some random person that has a company, I'm not really that interested. But if I'm an Amazon bestseller, then this actually goes into podcasts, which will help you launch. I know this is a little bit different than a typical lesson on Famous. You guys are expecting software stuff. And obviously, I give a lot of lessons on how to build the softwares and the apps and all that kind of stuff. But I do obviously have a pretty crazy resume in the book publishing world. So I figured I would just give you guys. Actually, it's funny. Think about this. What's the biggest problem for content? Just meeting is content. It's funny. I've been doing these meetings for Famous came out at the end of May. I started using it at the beginning of June. I think I started doing these calls maybe the end of June, I think. So this is probably my 8th or ninth call. And I'm already pivoting to talk about something else. I've already talked about how to build the app. I'm repeating myself in terms of the software. Now, one of the benefits is always getting, whenever Famous comes out with something new, I was thinking about doing actually a lesson on Lead Falcon next month or next week because I've been using it. It's working really well. But anyways, even me, what am I going to talk about this week? And I thought, oh, you know what? Let's talk about books because I think this is good. Let's see. Something about a memoir. You know what's funny? I'll give you a quick little lesson. What do you guys think the difference is between a biography and a memoir? People always confuse this. Memoir, biography. There's really one major difference. The difference is time. That's the difference. It's time. A memoir could be 3 hours of your life. It could be a weekend. It could be a summer. It could be the 3 months of your divorce. It could be when you got sick. Whereas a biography is comprehensive from birth to wherever we are right now. That's the main difference. It's not on a timeline. Memoir is the time is the main difference. You can write a million memoirs. Do you know that book, the famous one, A Million Little Pieces? It was actually a great book. This book. This is so good. It was so good. But then he just exaggerated some things. It's like, bro, just call it a novel. It's fine. I was so disappointed because everyone got so mad at him. And I'm like, it was 90% true. Just call it a novel based on real life. He didn't have to. It has to be 100% factual. Compass of the Soul. If you go here and you watch these, you can always get the transcript of these. And then you can put them into ChatGPT and turn my lessons into prompts. So there's a lot of stuff here. I think this is a really deep dive on landing pages. I'm telling you guys, I use the same stuff every time. Live build project, I'll show you how. But then what I did, I've done this, and I use the same wireframe every single time, guys. It's just because it's based on, it's not because I'm lazy, it's based on psychology. Okay, cool. So my CTA today is if any of you guys want help writing your book, which I think is a good idea. We got a couple different options. We can just coach you along, or we can write it for you, or whatever. Just schedule a call if you're interested. So we had a book of short stories. Yeah, short stories are great. You know what's interesting about short stories nowadays? They're more valuable than they used to be because a lot of people are using them for intellectual property to make movies. So it's good when you write a short story collection. But interesting thing about short story books, firstly, they used to be more popular during Fitzgerald and Hemingway's time in the early 20th century because there was no internet, obviously. And they could be written in magazines and newspapers. So that's why short stories were really popular back then. And they were sold to magazines. Stephen King started that way as well. But they lost favor when people stopped reading them, and magazines and newspapers are not as popular anymore. So they're not, it's like, where are you going to read them? They're having a little bit of resurgence online, but the main thing that short stories are getting popular for now is selling the intellectual property rights for a screenplay. So it's very cool. Anthology is a collection of other people's work, not your own. So that's cool too. You got to read his book on writing. It's an incredible book. And he talks about writing short stories. He got kicked out of his school because he wrote these crazy stories when he was 15 years old. His net worth is like over $500 million now. He's probably going to be a billionaire soon. He's one of the best, one of the most successful writers ever. But man, he struggled. Him and his wife struggled. Bless her heart. There's a lot of stories actually. David Mitchell is one of my favorite writers. His wife basically was the breadwinner for a couple of years while he was writing his book. It's like a lot of trust. A lot of trust. Anyways, guys, schedule a call if you guys want to actually write a book. We're happy to help. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.